Hey, beautiful friends. So, we're just going to have a conversation about lesson 78. And there's many reasons for this conversation today, but the place that I really
Fine.
want
I'm so sorry. My daughter literally just walked in.
Yeah.
Start over.
Do it.
Sorry.
Don't be.
Come on.
Oh my God. I know. I just went through that. You just went through that.
I
Now
love it. I love it. Mom life. Yeah.
That's it. This is about being moms, though, right?
Yeah.
This
I do
is
decide.
Yeah. So I think like if we can come together and like demonstrate how to take such a teaching like A Course in Miracles and bring it into our busy, busy lives, anyone could do this, like if we could do this, anyone could do this. And I always look at us moms already as like, we're really like superheroes. I don't know how we get it all done sometimes, but that's, a big part of, I think what us and what everyone on planet Earth is like, learning to do. Like, how can we live in a way that's more connected to our center and most calm and most, just authentically ourselves. Yes. I sent her a care package as a thank you.
Well, that's like, okay. I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Don't be so sorry. What's really funny too is I just picked up a package too and it's sitting down here and I don't know what it is. And so like, a little surprise for me after.
Love it. Maybe I'll get one today.
I bet you will too.
Yeah.
So clearly we are miracle mamas. Are you good? Did you want to go finish off?
We're good.
You're good? Okay.
Said hello.
Beautiful. I know. I said goodbye. You said hello. So I was just saying to Sally, and like, I feel like that's a big part of what I wanted to bring us together for is we're all like busy working moms. Like if we can learn how to find, like stay connected to the peace and the calm, like no matter what's going on around us, like I believe that anyone could do this, So I really wanted to hear from like moms and how it is that we apply these lessons to our lives most practically and directly. And I was saying to you guys beforehand that lesson 78 from A Course in Miracles, Let Miracles Replace All Grievances, is one of the most talked about lessons and one of the lessons that is brought up to me the most specifically. And the more I was thinking about it, I'm like, why? Why is it that people keep connecting with this so much? Like whether they're bringing it up with like triggers and like, oh my God, I don't understand this. I don't get this. Or they're bringing up to me like, wow, like the shifts, the revelations, the insights that I've received from this lesson. It's so powerful. And so when I was sitting with it this morning and I was like, yeah, like why is this the one that people just always want to reach out to me about? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this lesson is in essence like a meditation. Like it leads us through a direct visualization of how to acknowledge the things that perhaps we're irritated with or frustrated by with the people in our lives. But it also gives us an opportunity through the meditation that is offered us here in this lesson to look past that and to really look on to what is real and to look on what is fully true in the other person. And I believe that what we're learning, especially up to this point in the lessons, is that we want to see things differently. We want to see the other as they really, really are. Because when we see them as they are, without our grievances projected upon them, we will come to know ourselves. And that's where our freedom is. And that's what we're ultimately doing this for, is for the freedom and for the peace and for the joy, that comes with managing our minds and training our minds. I also wanted to share what got us in the same room together, because I think all three of us felt like it was just such a great synchronicity and like even miracle in some sense. And just as an overview, I have worked with Sally a few times one-on-one. We've just gotten so close and so connected, and I just adore you. And Leah, you've come to work for our company and we're doing some amazing things together, and I love you and I adore you. And so I've been able to be so close with you both in ways where you share a lot of yourself with me and what you're moving through and navigating through. And there was one day in particular, a couple weeks ago, where Leah first reached out to me with this lesson 78. And I'll let you share your story, but the way that I received it was like, whoa, this is a big one. And this is stirring up a lot in me. And I need to sit with this for a very long time. Yeah, so thank you. It's powerful. So thank you for doing it rightly. And I know we said a few things and shared a few things, and I'll let you kind of share the rest of your story after. But then the part that I felt was just so beautiful is that after you and I had such a heartfelt exchange about this lesson, a few hours later, Miss Sally reaches out to me. And not just in your normal, like, I'm going to write you something or we're going to meet for a lesson, something. Like, you picked up your camera and you left me a voice note of how much this lesson is changing you. And when I heard like just the beautiful just spirit like pouring through you in regards to this lesson, both what you grappled with and then what realizations were coming from it, it was just so magnetic and so beautiful. And I'm like, wow, you literally said the exact same thing, maybe different words than what Leah was just saying a few hours ago, just different words. And I was like, this is the same self speaking at me. I need to pay attention to this. And the fact that both of you are just like so close to my heart and you're both young moms like me. And like, we're just here, just want to help and want to serve. There's just so much that is the same. And I felt inspired to just communicate about this lesson together. But I would love to hear from both of you, perhaps tuning into what were some of those difficult parts of the lesson that you had to grapple with and wrestle with and that were tough. And then perhaps some of the breakthroughs, the realizations that came from really doing the meditation and the visualization that Jesus is offering us in this lesson. I'd love to hear from you guys.
I think that it's incredible that we both reached out to you on the same day in regards to this particular lesson. I feel like this lesson was the turning point for me personally, where I could feel it just like kick up a notch. I had been doing the lessons, I had been doing the daily practices as best as I could in between all the mum life things. But this was a real sort of ramping up for me personally, which, as I'm learning, is a very common experience. So, oh gosh, if I go back to that day, as mums, in my experience, I can get really nitpicky and then I can make a mountain out of a molehill. If I'm really tired, if I'm exhausted, if I'm trying to do it all, if I'm trying to be perfect, if I feel unworthy, if I'm getting resentful and all of those things that mums experience, I get out of alignment and then I nitpick at little things. And on this particular day, what I had learned was I was nitpicking and I was taking things personally when I really didn't need to. I was judging myself. I was judging my daughter. I was judging my partner. I was slowly like bubbling or over when I really didn't need to be. But I didn't realize that at the time until I jumped into the lesson. And what I learned was that this lesson is a very, very quick activation of inner peace, no matter what's going on. So I think that particular day, I had pushed myself beyond my limitations. So I was getting run down, my body was hurting, I was experiencing like inflammation, I was getting mouth ulcers, I felt sick, but I was pushing myself. I must get to the laundry, I must get to the dishes, I must vacuum, I must prepare for this, I must cook this, I must pick up Abigail, I must. And I put so much pressure on myself, which left me with little reserve for anything else, which is why I was reacting to everything around me. And it was why I felt like I needed to pick a fight with my poor partner and my daughter. And I was just consumed with this unworthiness and the grievances. I was consumed with grievances. I felt grievance. I was seeing grievances. It was my whole world. And it was on that particular day where I got to experience replacing grievances with miracles. And what I realized is that miracles doesn't have to be this huge gesture. A miracle is a tiny mindset shift that creates huge results. And I loved that I got to prove to myself on that day that no matter how many grievances I was carrying, they could dissolve in a moment. It was possible. I didn't have to work through it over weeks and months and years. It could be gone. It evaporated. As soon as I realized that I was holding on to the lens of judgment, as soon as I saw myself doing that, I could call it out. Mm-hmm. And so what happened was, that particular night, I came up to Phil and Abigail and I gave them my 2 cents worth. So, you're not helping in the house and you're creating work for me and I'm not a housewife and I'm leaving. So I picked up my keys and I went to the gym and I walked on the treadmill and I was listening to this lesson and it all just fell into place. And as soon as I got home, I was a different person and I had so much love because the grievances, as I judged everyone else around me, I was judging myself and hurting myself by holding on to that judgment. By attacking others, it was an attack on myself. And just by softening and opening my heart up to the possibility of a miracle dropping in, I experienced so much peace in that moment. So when I left the house, I was resentful, I was angry, I felt hopeless, I felt unworthy. I thought, what is my life? And when I came back, I was like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I just felt so good. So this lesson on that particular day was so profound. And that's when I sat down and sent that message to you because, whoa, it just turned my whole, it didn't even turn, yes, it turned my day around, but it turned something within me, like something up-leveled because I've been able to channel that ever since.
Oh my.
That's a bit of a
Yeah, that's the practicality in action. And I want to highlight a few things before we move over to Leah and hear what you have to say too. But what I love about your story is you had the willingness to let a miracle drop in. Like you became aware of the resistance and the judgment and the projections and everything that was going on inside of you. And like, I love even your courage to be like, I can't deal with this right now. I don't like what this feels right now. And I'm going to do the only thing I can to reach for the only help that I can. And I love that you stepped away. And like your example too is like going on the treadmill and walking and listening goes to show that, the healing power of our mind goes with us wherever we go. Like it doesn't always have to be in meditation with our eyes closed, right? Like it could be when we're walking, it could be at the gym, it could be when we're washing dishes, it could be in the shower. Like our downloads that can come when we're willing for the miracle are limitless. And so I think that that's a beautiful testimony to the power of being willing and what that looks like, right? And so at the time, you may not have fully understood what that meant to let miracles replace all grievances, but you gave that little tiny opening to let it happen in the moments where you needed it. And that's the beauty of these lessons, is that the lessons are going to evoke situations in our life, or at least memories even in our life, that help us to get to the deeper unraveling of our mind and our thoughts. That is the point that will bring us to freedom. So good for you. That's really beautiful to hear and so experiential. This is all around. My goodness. Thank you, Lenny. What about you, Miss Leah? I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I just think that's awesome because, whenever I would think like something is fixed or I've evolved, I would de-evolve I think 72 hours was my cycle. I would de-evolve after I learned something. So for you to say it really stuck is like, I don't want to take that lightly. Because that is what everybody is going for, is for it to stick.
Yeah.
And nothing ever stuck until A Course in Miracles. And I can just attest to that too. And you do get slammed so hard over the head with some of this stuff, but like, it's like you need it to confront it. And so that's why I've loved the workbook, and especially I loved 78 because it was like, this is where the rubber hits the road. If you can't learn this or at least give it a really good shot, then like, this is, I just felt like it was the ultimate peak, which I know, like Britney said, there's probably a few more, but to me, it's still the ultimate peak to always see love. I just know that the more and more I get into the workbook, the more I'm going to feel that. But like 78 was like, this is a choice, babe. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It was just like, I don't know. It was like, what is a miracle? What is a grievance? And then it kind of made it tangible, like with that shield. And I liked that tangibleness of it where you like literally have like something almost you could imaginary hold, but like to take that shield of, they even use the word straight up hate, which is a strong word. And so to take that shield of hate down, like just take it down and make that, like, I don't know, something almost you could grasp in your head mentally, like more than ever. Like, I just really appreciated the lesson because of that. It was like, you got two roads, which you're going to choose.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was going through my, like, a little backstory on that, like what was happening in my life. It's like, I was having, I really got over a lot of things. Like, my two big things were my family and my past career. And I felt like, I was like, I'm over it. I'm really proud of myself. And then 78 came along, and I was having a major issue with what was happening in the news cycle at that time. And at that time, a president had just gotten elected, and it was very upsetting. And so it was just really, really hard for me to grasp that the whole world might just be effed up. Excuse my language.
Yes.
It was very confronting to me. Like, I already knew that there was some issues in the world, which is why I wanted to come to A Course in Miracles, because I was like, there's some really weird stuff going on here and I need answers. And so, but then when the political scene went the way it did, I was like overcome with the enormity of, it was scary. Like, to me, it was just like, oh shit, like, this is my daughter's future. This is my future. Like, this is all our futures, and we're going to have to deal with this, and we're going to have to clean up this mess. And I was so upset. And then I was also rifling, well, how much do I get involved in knowing about this political storyline? You know, how much do I like put myself into that every day and like expose myself to this world so I can be knowledgeable and a good citizen? It was a really big battle. And so, yeah, 78 just came on, and it was like, you're going to have to forgive all of these people that are making all these choices for the world and us. Right. And, you know, and it was really hard because I just learned what giving and love was. So it was not only that I had all this new knowledge of like what truth looked like, I could really see that like we were really going, and like have conviction that we were really going in the wrong way, because I just had all this knowledge that I learned from the previous lessons. And so, anyways, I was in a pickle. So, yeah, but I got through it, you know, and I can talk about that. But essentially, that was my issue. That was my issue, that I was going through it. And it was like, either you're going to forgive these people and forgive this world that is crazy, right? And the last, you know, bunch of lessons has me been really understanding what forgiveness is. You know, what do we do from here? And I can't wait to talk to you about, like, you know, everything from that point on. But essentially, that's the story.
Gosh, it's so helpful. And I love that that's the order that it happened, because in Sally's sharing, it shows how the miracle can happen in our current relationships. And in your story, we are shown that miracles are generalizable to all relationships, which includes our relationship to our politicians and our leaders and the world as a whole. So that's the beautiful thing about A Course in Miracles, is it's not just like forgiveness in my own mind for my own stuff. It's not just forgiveness with my present relationships. It's global forgiveness. Like, you say this all the time, Leah. It's the idea of like, we need to forgive the world for all its crazy. Like, we really, really do. Because otherwise we're going to get swooped into the crazy, and then we're all crazy together. And that doesn't help that.
Yeah.
Like, ours is like our escape route to being like above the battlefield. Right. Yeah. And I feel like you kind of put in the language there, which I would love to hear more too, Leah, as time unfolds with this. But like, what happens after forgiveness? And I'm not meaning to answer that question, but I kind of want to lean us in that direction, because in my experience of this, which maybe I can lean into a little bit of this experience for me, which has been quite a while, but it's all still presently like here. But I feel like what happens as we continue to forgive the small things, forgive the big things, the close things, the far things, what starts to happen is we start to enable our mind, our heart, our lives, our relationships to be all forgiving.
Yeah.
So we've forgiven. We're all forgiving. And I believe that's what the majority of us are called to the course for, or called to a better way for, is so that we can learn how to give that love, how to answer those calls for love, how to be of service in the way that is written on our own soul and our own heart to kind of do. And I feel like forgiveness is that the ticket, the key to lifting, like you were mentioning, Leah, the shield, right? To lifting that shield. And that's why you're also right in saying that this is like a pinnacle. Like this lesson is like, woo, 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 woo. And we will hit more of those. But now we've hit all the little pinnacles to get to this point where everything else is just reiterating everything we've learned so that we can actually really, really learn it. So this is the point. And I believe that it's such a pinnacle lesson for all the reasons that we mentioned. But a main thing is because I do believe it puts our healing of ourself and healing of humanity and just like healing of the grievances in our own hands. Like, it's like you are responsible in the most beautiful way as a power, not a blame, to let the wall, the shield, fall so that you're no longer looking onto the world and onto those that we love through the shield, through the dirty window, right? Yeah. And so forgiveness is like, clean the dirty window, let the wall fall. You don't need that anymore.
But it was kind of cool because I got to learn like what my shield actually was.
Perfect.
And I don't know if you got this too, Shawley, but like I got to like, just it says like the shield of hate, but like I feel like we have our own personal shields, and like I really got to understand like what my shields were. We can get into that if you want, but that was like the coolest, to really see like, I feel, yeah, should I talk about that?
Yeah, go for it. That's inspiring me. I'm it came up for me too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like my shield was, like I just realized how much I was protecting like my stuff, like my I looked out onto the news reel and I was like, things are going to change. Like people are going to start not getting as much help. And then I figured like, I just started picturing me losing my home and like this whole like tragedy, like us going to war and like how like some country, it was awful. And it was like all stemming from me trying to protect my stuff, like right. My stuff. Plus I was very upset. So it was like two things. So the second one was I was very upset that like I knew as much as I knew about love and truth and how the world should run, which is so egotistical, I know. But like when you get to the course, you understand that all you want to give so everybody can gain. And so when you see things that are like only certain sectors of the population are gaining, it's just super hard on your heart.
Right.
And so like I just felt I was special. I felt like I knew the right from wrong and they didn't. But then what I really realized is that has been a reoccurrence my whole life. Mm-hmm. Like, and so I really had to come face to face with like specialness. And that was insane. Like, I don't know how, like, I just feel slightly awkward talking about this, but like when I just like look back and like how much specialness has run my life. Like, I just can't even tell you. We should probably have a whole study on that. But anyway, those two things about, yeah, it was wild. It was wild.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, but you're so brave for even looking to see what your shield is made up of. Because that's the very thing like our ego doesn't want us to see, right? And so it will do everything it can to be like, no, but look at how crazy and effed up the world is. Like, it can't be this way. And then, but if we turn it back in and you realize that it's all coming from a root of defending your specialness, and we realize that we need not defend anything, right? Love needs no defense. Then that's like the most beautiful outcome that could come from the chaos in the world. Like maybe that's why it's happening this way right now. So we can all get to that point that there must be a better way. It's not okay that some are prospering and others aren't. It's not okay that some are getting help and others aren't. That's not the way of God. That's why it feels in our heart, right? Like, God, that's all of his children, not some of them. And so I feel like that's the disconnect we're feeling. But at the same time, we have to see that the disconnect is coming from our conclusions on the world and not really the way things are.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that, and I would love to hear more about your ladies' thoughts on this, but when I was dealing with this and when I was looking at my shield, I realized that the shield that I was holding before my eyes was almost, I guess you can say, the opposite of specialness. Mine was unworthiness. And what allowed me to see my unworthiness was in this lesson, it says, look, choose one person. You already know that person. They're coming to your mind. So you have someone that you have grievances with. They're already coming to your mind. Who is that person? And then it gets us to list their characteristics, the things that irk you, the things that frustrate you. And my chosen was Tom, right? And I'm can go through and I can see all the things that irk me and all the things that I don't like. And then it starts talking about like, body things. And like, okay, well, maybe he didn't cut his hair on time and not, it's the most superficial little tiny things that were blocking me from seeing him and thus seeing myself and just causing me so much pain. And like you were saying earlier, Sally, then the nitpicking starts happening because it's coming from a place of judgment completely and entirely. But the more that I pulled back the layers and was like, well, why am I judging him so harshly? It was because I was judging myself so harshly. And the belief that came up, this is the belief that came up. The belief that came up for me was my worth is dependent on having another male body that looks better than me, is more expensive than me, is going to make my image look better. So that when my image looks better, I see better, like I see myself better, and now I'm finally lovable and worthy and everything's all great. Right?
Can you call that specialness though? Because I could say
Right.
unworthy, but what I got to the root is that everything comes back to specialness. Like you want to be special because
Yes.
I don't want to
Yes.
put words in your mouth.
No, you're right though.
But like everything comes back to that specialness is like, and that's what blew my mind is like, it seems like so many things like I could say unworthiness, like old Leah would say unworthiness, but really it's like, I want to.
You know what you're saying? You know what just came to me in my head when you said that is like that little Britney who was seeing herself unworthy was doing that because she wanted to see that she was special in the eyes of her dad.
Yes.
Wow.
I can't believe you had that. Yeah. Like it's just insane. It all comes back to, I want to be. But you know what's cool? And I'm so sorry, Sally. Like, do you want to?
No. This is amazing.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. But like, what's crazy is that I remember learning somewhere or something in some workshop or somewhere in the lessons is that I separated from God because I wanted to be more special than God. And so I really made the huge connect of like all of this like specialness. Like I was like, whoa, like it was just insane to me, like the breakthroughs on that. And then like, and then I read somewhere that you can forgive God for not making you special. You can even take forgiveness that far. And I was like, I think I saw it in a comment on a YouTube channel one time. Like that. So I haven't actually studied that or know much about that, but I just saw that was possible. And so all of this stuff, like, and then just like, so I've just been, every time I feel like a little anxiety, I'll be like, oh, I don't really need to be special. Like I don't need any of that. Like I am already special. And so I was working with Britney on the specialness, and I just, honestly, it just went away. It just all cleared up. It was like, oh, that's my problem. It's only been 41 years and I've literally been fighting this for 41 years. And like,
Oh my gosh.
and that's what I meant. Like Sally and those breakthroughs, like sticky, like this is like,
Yes.
stick, like.
And then another bit that really stuck for me, which is sort of along the lines of what you're saying, Leah, is for so long, I thought I knew what was best for me. And so what this lesson did was it actually opened up my perception. It opened up, like you said, Britney, my willingness to see this situation differently and to actually say, you know what, I might not actually have a clue what's good for me in this moment. And I'm just going to give it over. I'm just going to hands off the wheel. I'm going to give it over and I'm going to be shown and I'm going to listen.
Yes.
And so that was also like connected with this lesson, is just like letting go of that control, which I didn't realize how much control I actually had until I started really looking at my thoughts. You can watch your thoughts, and I've learned this. You can actually watch them. They happen, yes, but to call them out is a whole new thing. It's like you're stepping back and becoming that spectator, and you're like, whoa, I've got patterns. I'm recognizing now. So I guess that was another breakthrough for me with this lesson is that I don't actually know what's best for me in the moments where I think, this is so unfair. Why is it happening to me? Why doesn't that person like me? Why did this person say this? Why is this annoying me? And, all the nitpicking, that's going to be my favorite word. Yeah, I'm just starting to realize that, you know what? I'm striving for something that might not actually be it for me. And I'm using my own judgment. I'm using my own wants and needs. And I'm trying to drive this, this moment in time where I need to actually just take my hands off the wheel and give it over and listen and
Forgive.
leave and give. Exactly. And along the lines of forgiveness, it was really interesting. I've started to understand that I can forgive others more easily than myself. I find it really difficult I did find it really difficult to forgive myself and let myself off the hook. But we're all connected, and that's what the course has taught me. The light in me sees the light in you. This isn't just a journey for me. We are all connected. As I connect to my inner shine, I'm also giving other people's inner shine permission to break down those barriers for themselves. We're all connected in this way. So as I was forgiving others, I knew that forgiving myself was a part of that as well. We're not separate. So I can't go, you're forgiven, you're a good person, I appreciate you, and then turn around to me and say, I ain't forgiven you. You are unworthy. What is wrong with you? It doesn't work that way. So that's really this lesson, and the course has really opened my eyes to what we give, we also receive. If I'm going to forgive you, I'm also going to receive that energy of forgiveness into my heart as well. So it's,
Beautiful.
Opened up perception.
That's so beautiful. And I feel like that's like so many people be like, well, this is a course in self-forgiveness. And it is. But we're all saying that this lesson is like the pinnacle because it is. But what is this lesson about? It's forgiving the other. Because it knows that when I forgive the other, like you're saying, I'm forgiven. When I can see the light in the other, I will see the light in myself. And if we can give ourselves just permission to extend that light and forgiveness to others and simply don't block it from receiving it upon ourselves, like the receiving is the most natural thing. And again, that's why it's so powerful, because it's saying keep the wall, like take the wall down, take the shield down, and then keep it down. And that's how we can allow the natural laws of God, love of God, to just be given and received naturally from mind to mind, from heart to heart, from being to being. And that's it. This is it. This is our first function. This is like our homework. This is our job. It's the most important thing. Girls are beautiful demonstrations. Thank you for doing that.
And I love that you use the word function, because that's another thing. I've come to learn that judgment is not part of my function. And if I'm judging, then I will hold a grievance. So it's connected. Yeah.
It's like, it's so crazy because it's like the biggest book on how to chill out. Like it's like how
I love that.
Like
what's it chilling out?
To chill. But like the fact that you have to like study so hard and have like the context behind how to chill out, it is fascinating how wound tight we are.
Yes.
Like I just can't even, and
like a ball of wool that's tangled up, and we've got to untangle it one bit at a time.
Yeah.
Unlearn what we learned previously.
I just can't even, I'll probably be like a bowl of liquid by the 365. Like whatever. No, I won't. But I'm just, it's amazing. It's better than anything I've ever come across. And I don't know if we can like talk about like what happened after, like, I have a story I want to share about, because it's just, I've been thinking about it, but like when I first went on the journey to figure out like what the heck is happening to my mind, I heard about value, like honesty, trustworthy, like, character values. And like I looked them up on the internet, and there are literally hundreds of values that you could be, right? That are important to people. And I just picked out like my top 10. And I remember sitting there just being like, this is what I value. And like, I just remember it so clearly. And like, I was like, I'm going to hold to all of these. And it was, you can't, you don't, you just can't. Like, there's like, good intention, but like, you can't, because you get mad and then you forget everything. And like, it just all goes out the window and you just revert back. But I remember that was like the beginning. And so even the past few days, just understanding my function, like we were starting to talk about, has been so amazing because I got to realize that I don't have to have any of those values. Like actually those values jack me up.
Right.
Like they really do. Like they're so honest and like innocent, but really they're not. Because what they do is they have like they make you have conflicting goals. And when we have conflicting goals, then our brain gets doubtful. And like, that's when we start to feel unworthy. And like, that's when we're just like, I don't know which way to go next, and like, and then we start projecting onto other people at that point. Mm-hmm. And so like, I just have this clear image of that list that I thought that was going to solve all my problems. But truly like the one function that God gives us is to be the light of the world. So being the light of the world is like Target, right? You got what you like you're like, I want to go to Target. So being the light is like Target, right? And I want to go to Target because I like Target and it has everything I need. It's the light, right? Okay, our goal is to be the light, but we have to get in the car to go to Target, right? We can't just beam to Target. We have to get in the car to go to Target. Well, forgiveness is the car to get to be the light. And so like, yeah. And so like, this is like it's like the action you have to take to get to where you want to go. And so it's been just really fascinating to understand that I never have to have another value in this world ever again. That means I know who I am, what I am. I can have conviction for everything that comes out of my mouth, which is like my only, I just want conviction for what comes out of my mouth. Because there's been so many times where I'm just like, I don't know what to say because I don't know what I believe and I don't want to hurt anybody. So I don't say anything and then I don't fix anything and then I get mad and like, because I can't say anything. And it's just like, so now just knowing that my one value of forgiveness about everything is like, I just can't wait. And it's only been like 48 hours since I figured this out. So like, more to come.
Oh my gosh. I love that you touched on values because I went through a bit of that journey as well. As a bit of a side note, I was trying to get my own business up and running to be a motherhood coach to support mums on a similar journey to us. And as I was sort of setting it up, I was sort of thinking, gosh, what am I going to talk to my client about? What are we going to focus on? And values came up. And I was thinking, gosh, it would be really cool if I could guide my clients to tune into what's important to them. And then I started to learn, well, if I'm going to guide my clients to do that, I need to be able to do that myself. So I did a similar thing to you, Leah. I looked up all the values and I was like, gosh, which ones are talking to me? Which ones jump out at me? And then what I did was I kind of married myself to those values and I held, I was holding on to them too tightly. And I sort of locked them in. And then when I wasn't living by those values, I would punish myself over it. I'd be like, oh, I wasn't perfect today.
Right.
I wasn't that, I'd sort of like built an image of myself in my mind. This is who I'm going to be. And I held myself to it. And I was miserable, absolutely miserable. And it wasn't until, like you said, Leah, beautifully, I discovered the light and the guidance of God and our true function. That all of that sort of ego stuff, this is how I should be, that melted away. And I was like, oh, this feels so much easier. I can breathe now. I know myself now. And all of a sudden it became a journey of not building myself into something that I thought I was, but actually unbuilding, like uncovering and remembering what was already there. So it's interesting when we start to go down sort of like, this is who I should be. These are my values. And we sort of build ourselves like a robot. I'll use this piece and this color and this, put some over it, and I'll be this shiny little image, and that'll be me.
So
and it's like,
oh my gosh. You guys are touching on so much. I'm like exploding. Like, this is so cool. Like, I love where this is all coming, because that's the course. The course isn't like, oh, you create yourself and you have to make yourself into who you want to be, which is
right, you remember yourself.
Yeah. The course is like, no, you have to undo what you think you are. You have to undo these grievances, these past thoughts and judgments and fears and projections and hate. And then discover yourself. You are and you have been all along. And what's interesting, the language that, and I know you both are like first year students, which is so exciting to me, because you guys are leading the pack of this generation. And I'm just like, yes. But it is like, this is what I've been waiting for. So like, what we lean into after we get through the workbook lessons and the textbook is the teacher's manual, which is what you're leaning into, Sally. Of like, I want to serve and I want to help mamas, and I realize I have to learn it myself. It's called a healed healer in the course. But at the end of the book, Jesus says there's characteristics of God's teachers, which is what you ladies are saying that you were looking and seeking for values for. But the way you were doing it before is like, I don't have these values. I'm going to put them outside myself, and I'm going to do all these things to get these values, and I'm going to beat myself up if I don't do it. Right? Yeah. That's ego in control again. Like we had used that word control. Whereas the characteristics of God's teachers are kind of the same as values. I mean, they're honesty, open-mindedness, trustworthy, generosity, like all of the core things that if we settle into our heart, we're like, yes, please. But what we're taught in the Course in Miracles is that those are an effect of what you are. You don't need to strive for it, attain for it, try and get it, try and seek it. You need to let go of everything that is the shield that is blocking you from everything that is already yours. That's the beautiful thing. That's why the Course in Miracles to me is so radical. There's nothing else like it, because it does deconstruct in the way that is needed, so we can receive in the way that is needed, so we can maintain that centered connectedness and not be up and down all the time. Like we've been saying, we want this to stick. And I feel like this is how it sticks, because we're really going to the source and we're working at it in here and saying,
it's not out there. It's already,
it's already
here.
Yes.
Already there.
So beautiful.
I just feel like for anybody watching this was only like very much the surface, and to really go through the lesson, yourself, you're just like watching this without going through the lessons. I hope it inspires, but go through the lessons, because what we even talked about is not even all of it. Like it's honestly, what we talked about sounds like any book you could pick up in a bookstore, which is sad because it's so much deeper than that. But you can feel it when you personally go through it.
Experience.
If it sounds like, well, I've heard that concept, or I've heard that concept, now you have it.
Right.
You know you have it. And so I just hope that in closing, just know that these concepts are nowhere, like,
it's not the concepts.
Maybe I'm talking to myself. Like, I'm just like, I
don't know. It makes sense. And I want to add to that, Leah. It's for anyone who's listening. A year ago, I had a problem with the word God. I couldn't say it. I didn't feel it. I didn't mean it. I couldn't. If I said the word God, I kind of was like, oh, okay, here we go. You know, I couldn't even say the word. Well, I could, but if I said Jesus or A Course in Miracles, I was sort of like, okay, fast forward a year and it's my life. It's my daily practice. So it is available to everyone, whatever stage that you're at, and you'll be ready when you're ready. And that was my experience too. My dad gifted me the book, A Course in Miracles, and I think I read the first lesson and I sat on it for a year.
Right.
I didn't pick it back up. And it was just like, when I was ready, I was ready. And all of a sudden, everything started lining up, and my perception opened up. And I was like, whoa, this world was here. Like the world I can see now was here. I was living in this peace already. This love was already available to me. I don't have to suffer anymore. Oh my gosh, I'm not depressed anymore. This was here. This is amazing. Where have I been? So it happens when it happens. And once you're on this train, you're on it, you know? Like I was talking to my dad, who's also dedicated to the course, and we were both saying, like, we've seen too much now. We know too much.
Go back.
And you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing that's truly stuck. And if you had told me a year ago that I was going to be diving into the Course in Miracles, that my life would change, I wouldn't have believed you. So, yeah, there's a time for everything, and it happened for me and it happened for you guys, and look where we are. And I'm just so grateful. God works in mysterious ways. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, beautiful concluding thoughts from both of you. Just such gems and gifts to all those that are going to be listening to this. I really do believe. And I feel like I want to just extra highlight before we say fully goodbye that both of you are beautiful demonstrations of what can happen when we really apply the teaching the way that it's given. And the most beautiful thing is you guys put in the work to have the understanding in the 77 lessons before you got to 78. And like you're saying, Leah, that's the groundwork. Like that's the foundational important tools that we need to go through to be ready for these breakthroughs. And so that is so important to do the lessons and that we'll be called to the lessons when it's time, but then to also think about how much is still to come, right? Like there's 365, like it just gets better and better. This is what I want. And I want to highlight how we're brought together with the right and perfect people at the right and perfect time, which shows like God is in his hands, right? Like there's a plan for all of us. Like there's a path and a part for all of us. And all we need to do is say yes to doing our part of being responsible for our own thinking and changing our thinking with our inner teacher and giving it away in the ways that we're inspired to do so. And that's it. So it really is simple, even though it's huge. It's just repeated a lot because we really have a lot of work to do. But anyone can do it. And so I definitely want to say, if anybody needs any help or support, we're here. Maybe you can comment below, ask us anything, any of us. We'll all keep an eye on it so that we can share any information. Will be below for people to take a look. But thank you everyone for being here. And if you're feeling that call, answer it. It will change your life. Thank you. Thank you. I love you both so much. Thank you for saying yes and just doing the work. You're beautiful demonstrations. And I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you.
Love you,
Britney. Thank you, Shawley.
Thank you.